The way that we need to think of it is that consciousness is basically what the absolute looks like when it shines into the world. Consciousness is the animated expression of being. We don't want to be aware of being aware if the awareness we're being aware of is still believed to be temporary, limited, and finite. If we have any inclination that awareness is limited, the awareness that we're going to be aware of, we will attach some form of limitation to it. It'll be an awareness that's inside the head, inside the body, behind the eyes. We'll give it some type of ethereal, space-like awareness quality. Awareness is like space. And we'll just bring our attention again to another subtle object. So it's like saying, we've all heard, be in the now or be in the moment. Hearing this, it does direct us to some level of peace. Like if the first time you've heard that, live in the moment or be in the now, and the first time I heard be here now, I was like, oh, this sounds good. Like, be here now. I never even considered being here now. This seems amazing to me. From the point of view of like constantly getting lost in ignorance and thoughts and suffering, being in the now, like that one pointer is massively different and more beneficial and for me than to be lost in the opposite of that. But it doesn't equate to freedom. It doesn't give a sufficient level of freedom. Just knowing and doing that isn't going to provide any context for understanding. And it's the context in which our understanding takes place that actually creates a grounded, embodied experience of the truth. And it's actually the thing where we recognize the truth. So having this understanding is essential, not just being aware of being aware, because we have to know exactly what we mean by that. It's necessary, though, to take this step because it actually points us in the direction of the absolute. It points us towards being. It points us towards the surrendering of holding on-ness. It takes us in the right direction. If there's any good direction to go, it is that direction. So we're not trying to disregard this. We're trying to deepen our understanding of what it actually means to be aware of being aware, what it actually means to know our true nature. The tendency to anchor ourselves in awareness is another tendency to hold on to something. Another tendency to think, well, if I just do this, then that will make me more being, you see? And this is like, it's almost like it's still a subtle practice. But it is a necessary practice to then let go of that. It's like taking ourselves really, really, really to the edge of the cliff and then jumping off it and then having no crutch, you see? It's still some form of meditation, some form of practice in that sense. But we want to surrender all of that. We don't want to hold on to anything. We don't want to hold on to being aware of being aware. We don't want to hold on to being in our true nature because the time will come where that is no longer important. Why would it not be important? Because it is what we are, and we know that so deeply. There is a dropping of all care, in essence. We just don't, like the sun doesn't care about shining. Grass doesn't care about growing. It just does that by nature. And it doesn't mean it removes care. Just like the sun, we don't want to talk about inanimate objects, but it doesn't remove, just because we don't care about shining doesn't mean that we don't care about things. In fact, the natural consequence of releasing ourselves of any form of holding on and resistance will naturally express the shining of our true nature, metaphorically speaking, and it will actually enhance our love for others and our understanding of relativity. And it will actually allow us the freedom to delve into the world of duality, where people still have conversations and you still go and use the toilet, you see? You still type on a keyboard that has separate keys. That's all duality. That's okay. The problem is when the belief in duality creates separation. The belief that duality is real. If you believe duality is real, then you will suffer. If you know duality is not real to the extent in which you see through its reality clearly, then duality is literally just the place that we hang out. You see, it's the place that we chill. It's the place where we have a body and experience. Yes, we don't really have a body and experience things, but we have the intelligence now to actually manage that and to do that and to have fun with it. So what's referred to as the absolute by Nisargadatta is what Rupert Spira and Francis Lucille talk about as pure consciousness. It's the same, they mean it in the same way. Pure consciousness is the description used to describe the natural place of being, the placeless place of being, the absolute, without the knowledge of objects, without the knowing that objects are real. And that is a place of, you could call it non-consciousness. It's almost like there's no consciousness there. Because the mind can only know things, and once the mind isn't included in the package, there's nothing to know. And being the source of knowing, it cannot itself be known. So you never really know awareness in the same way that the sun doesn't ever shine on itself, and neither would a light shine the sun. If you shine the torch at the sun, nothing happens to the sun. You can't do that. Doesn't mean to say that the sun doesn't shine. You see, indicatively speaking, a flame doesn't need objects for it to be a flame. The sun doesn't need objects in order for it to shine. Being doesn't need objects in order to be aware. It is inherent with awareness. Awareness cannot be something that illusory, like just comes out of nothing. And then the being isn't aware, but awareness is. It doesn't make any sense. It's just that in the recognition of our true nature, there's nothing else to know, nothing to know it. So it is as though there's no consciousness. So it's illusory when we think consciousness comes from the world, but it's not itself an illusion. So what we want to understand is when we're in our true nature, whether we are aware, we don't care what we're aware or not aware of, you see. So this is why being aware of awareness is a stage on the direction, but there is a place where you're not going to care about that. Why? Because you're just being what you are. God doesn't care about being God. The flies don't care about being flies. You're just being naturally what you are. And there's no resistance now to experience. There's no holding on to anything. You're not holding on to, was I aware, was I not aware, am I awakened, am I not awakened? You just don't care about that stuff anymore. You're just happy. It's natural. You have this sense of naturalness. It's just the way it is. Happiness doesn't care about its next moment of happiness. When you're happy, you're not thinking, when's the next time I'll be happy? You're here. You're now, right? This comes as to the full circle as to what's going on. But now we understand the context in which this actually arises. So this doesn't mean that consciousness isn't real. It just simply means that it's not derived from anything. It's autonomous. So recognizing autonomous consciousness is the same as recognizing pure consciousness, is the same as recognizing the absolute. In the recognition of the absolute, whether you're aware or not aware, it doesn't make a single bit of difference because you're in your natural condition. And from that place, there's no holding on to whether you're being, not being, existence, non-existence. You are free. Fire illuminates itself even though it cannot be illuminated. Fire burns on its own even though it itself cannot be burnt. That doesn't mean that if no objects are there, it shines with darkness. You see, in the same way that knowing cannot be known because it is knowing. Knowing nothing means that there's nothing in it for it to know. Therefore, what would be consciousness derived from? Where would it even get its existence from? If there was never anything other than itself to know, where would consciousness arise? It is as though consciousness isn't there. But just because objects aren't there doesn't mean the sun shines with darkness. Just because objects aren't there doesn't mean consciousness isn't there. So we can take the path of consciousness, which is referred to as to go towards the I am. that takes us in the right direction. But it must be understood in this context for one to understand the absolute level. And on that level, what one is aware of becomes irrelevant. One simply sits in the silence of its source. I have a retreat coming up. The retreat is going to be happening in December the 7th, 1st to the 7th. You can find access to that in the link below. I also have a free community. I'd love to see you guys there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.